In 2010, one of the biggest status quo shifts in modern Marvel Comics occurred with Secret Invasion. Now, this storyline centered on the revelation that the Skrulls utilized their shape-shifting abilities to replace various superheroes over a period of years. And this infiltration also involved breaking various supervillains out of Supermax prisons, disabling S.H.I.E.L.D. operations, the whole 9 yards. And during the final act of the event, Norman Osborn of all people kills the Skrull Empress, resulting in him leading S.H.I.E.L.D's replacement called Hammer. And this led to another crossover style storyline / event called Dark Reign, which itself led into another one called Siege. Now, during Dark Reign, along with his new organization, Norman Osborn forms a new Avengers team, which he calls the Avengers basically, but everyone comes to know them as the Dark Avengers, while Norman Osborn himself becomes the Iron Patriot. And this is actually a persona, an alias, whatever you want to call it, that has been seen in the MCU through Iron Man 3, when the United States government decided to rebrand War Machine to basically make him more patriotic. Now, during the events of Dark Reign, a lot of crazy stuff happens, and since then has actually become the inspiration for a lot of adaptations across TV shows and video games relating to Marvel properties, with Spider-Man Far From Home actually looking like it could be setting up the MCU version of those events. Now, the first big part of that is the fact that we have aliens actually infiltrating Earth, confirmed officially within the MCU, and I'm not just talking about Skrulls. And now, one of the biggest reveals in Spider-Man Far From Home was the reveal from Talos and Soren, who were at the time acting as Nick Fury and Maria Hill, that there were actually Kree sleeper agents on Earth. Now, Soren says something along the lines of, oh, I thought, the Kree sleeper agents were top secret, something like that, which just by itself is kind of crazy, because that shows that opposite of the Skrulls, we have other alien races, maybe the Badoon, maybe other aliens like the Shi'ar, which I guess they can't really reveal yet because the Fox deal is just kind of wrapped up. But all things considered, it's kind of crazy to know that there are aliens infiltrating Earth. And that altogether could spell a very disastrous situation for the credibility of Nick Fury and his associates. Now, this would be fueled by probable xenophobia present on Earth after the traumatic events of the Battle of New York, the Dark Elves invasion, and the decimation / blipping. Combine that with the propaganda from the likes of J. Jonah Jameson, and people would probably not receive the news of shape-shifting aliens well, regardless of the Skrulls' true intentions. And while Nick Fury could probably vouch for the Skrulls, the public would instantly question him if evidence of Talos posing as him were leaked online, which would probably create feelings of mistrust, especially considering that S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury are likely kind of recovering PR-wise from the Hydra infiltration of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, this route would actually be very interesting, as it would make, in some respects, the MCU adaptation of Secret Invasion more of a fake news style PR campaign versus an actual malicious invasion by the Skrulls. In all things considered, the groundwork has been laid for Earth to learn more about advanced aliens living among them. So a regular topic of discussion in Spider-Man Far From Home was the legacy of Tony Stark and the Avengers, since a lot of them are now dead and or retired. Specifically, we saw in memoriam images for Iron Man, Captain America, and Black Widow. And for Iron Man, people kept just saying that he was the greatest hero in the world, and people wanted to know who would take up his mantle, which is something that Mysterio played upon and basically intentionally preyed upon with the public in order to further his goals for things like fame throughout stage superheroics. For someone like Peter Parker, though, he struggled personally to really carry Tony's torch until he realized that he neither can nor should he carry that type of burden. And instead, with guidance, he'll make better decisions to hopefully grow into a better hero than Tony Stark ever was. And Tony actually says something similar in Spider-Man Homecoming when he tells Peter to be better than him instead of simply trying to be him. However, a drawback of this obviously is that anyone with proper resources and publicity can attempt to, so to speak, fill the void of Tony Stark / Iron Man to the greater public. And a character like Norman Osborn in Oscorp would easily be able to fill this void, probably better than any other Spider-Man related character. Now, the Green Goblin persona has been done a few times now in Spider-Man media, so I'd like to think that Marvel is pretty willing to put that aside for the near future, and instead maybe focus on a characterization of Norman Osborn that could feature the repurposing of the Iron Patriot armor for starters. Now, he could function as a dark mirror of Tony, almost like Tony without the humbling experiences from his solo films. And if he acquired Avengers Tower to be the new Oscorp headquarters, that would quickly give him the resources to create comparisons between him and Tony. And with the Avengers, it appears the team is officially retired, and while this could create openings for new teams like the Ultimates, New Avengers, or Secret Avengers, it also leaves room for the Dark Avengers. It wouldn't be surprising if Marvel Studios tries merging the concepts of Thunderbolts and Dark Avengers into one, considering they've been trying to develop a Thunderbolts movie for a few years now. Now, the last thing that kind of leads itself into this is kind of breadcrumbs that point towards Norman Osborn. So while Norman Osborn has actually never officially been revealed for the MCU, it wouldn't be a stretch to say there are definitely teases all around between Spider-Man Homecoming, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Spider-Man Far From Home. In Spider-Man Homecoming, a mysterious entity was revealed to have acquired Avengers Tower from Stark Industries, and an acquisition of this scale would require a buyer of enormous wealth. Wealth you would think would be similar to the capacity that Tony Stark has, maybe not at the same level, but somewhat in the same tier, even if it's on the bottom of that tier. Considering how Stark Industries stopped making weapons after the events of Iron Man, it's also possible that a company like Oscorp stepped in to scoop a lot of those government contracts and basically kind of the market share that Stark Industries had. And this possibility is even augmented further by the events of Iron Man 2, because Justin Hammer and Hammer Industries experienced a lot of difficulties, bad PR, and Justin Hammer himself was arrested due to the faulty tech and involvement with Ivan Vanko. So it would be rather seamless really to introduce a character like Osborn in this capacity, especially if they don't force the transition into Green Goblin. And personally, I'd prefer they ignore the Green Goblin persona unless he's introduced in like a post-Sinister Six kind of, way. And the only reason I say that is because Marvel has such a great opportunity with the Rogues Gallery of Spider-Man, a Rogues Gallery really not rivaled by any other character but Batman. I would like to see them showcase that Rogues Gallery before we get the same old with Green Goblin. Now, other breadcrumbs for the character could be the benefactor from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and this character, while never seen, had his basically subordinates attempting to collect Pymtech. And the last time a Spider-Man movie had a shadowy benefactor-like character was the gentleman aka Gustav Fiers from The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And according to Mark Webb, this character, before his real name was revealed, originally was going to be that version of Electro for the Amazing Spider-Man universe. Now, Gustav in the comics is a businessman tied to the gathering of the Sinister Six, and likely with this concept, especially since in The Amazing Spider-Man he worked for Oscorp, so if they merge the two concepts, you could easily have this benefactor shadowy like person be Norman Osborn, as you connect it to Norman Osborn, Oscorp, Sinister Six, all that stuff, because I'm sure those ideas are still permeating throughout Sony. And since the Vulture, Shocker, and Mysterio have appeared in recent movies, it does make the likelihood of a Sinister Six story potentially high. But what do you guys think about this down below? Do you think the MCU is setting up a Dark Reign / Secret Invasion / Siege type storyline? What are your thoughts down below? What would you guys like to see if they were to adapt that? Me personally, I'd love to see a Sentry movie, but comment below your guys' thoughts down below. What do you guys think? And we'll see you guys later.